shiny side out. This is show number 464, 460 and 400, almost 500. We're going to talk about the electric universe. A theory that has fallen into some, I guess, on hard times. And you know, it's people believe it's been debunked.
Mm-hmm.
But well, you can't really debunk a theory. You can disprove it. And there's still a lot of interesting aspects to it, component parts which make sense, others that don't make sense, but ultimately it's a theory I think it's worthwhile looking at because Tesla himself was quite interested in it. It's Nikola Tesla, of course. And I do believe that like electricity or electromagnetism has sort of fallen off the bandwagon a bit when it comes to research and explaining the universe. And I think that's on purpose, right? Electromagnetic forces seem to be at work in the UFO phenomenon. They seem to be at work in general things we can't explain in the natural world as well. And I believe that the toroidal shape, you know, like a I guess a whirlpool shape, is also of extreme importance, especially when it comes to gravitational forces and the connection of electromagnetism to those. So I do believe that research into those areas was not undertaken on purpose, Dave. I think people say, nah, they look over there at relativity and look at quantum mechanics. Of course, quantum mechanics turn out to be a whole different thing. And we have now in our accepted traditional theories of reality, we have massive holes, gaps. And we've patched them up with dark matter and dark energy. Which is interesting, because we have no idea what it is. All right, we only know that our equations and our theories don't make sense without it. There are massive missing bits within them.
But you name something, right, and it goes away.
Oh, clearly it does. Placebo effect. Don't have to think about that anymore. Right? But it doesn't, of course, because it's still not explained. There's no explanation. What is the explanation? You know, we look at all the wrong things, in my opinion. We investigate all the wrong things. And we're not... And I think there's a deliberate move here as well. I mean, can I prove it? No. I do believe there's academic bias. I do believe there's research bias. I do believe that people self-censor. I do believe that people are encouraged to study certain things. See, the thing is this, Dave, it's really funny, right? If you roll it right back, to school. You just teach children what you want to teach them. You don't teach them all the things you don't want to teach them, right? And then as they go through, primary school or whatever it's called, then high school or and then on to a university or other, higher educational institutions or into a trade, whatever the case may be, you will only learn what they are willing to teach you, unless you somehow have the ability to inform yourself, right? And find alternative sources of knowledge, be they called pseudosciences or if they're discredited, it doesn't really matter. But there are people out there that had different ideas to the mainstream, and the mainstream is only the mainstream because that's what's been adopted by the establishment for their own purposes. Okay, so it's really interesting. So I don't think during the McCarthy years in America they were seriously teaching communist theory in American universities, right? They may have. Doubtful, though, because that would lend you a one-way ticket to an American gulag. Well, no, not really. They didn't have gulags in America then, but
prison, right?
Prison, yeah. But the same is true for any nation state that has totalitarian designs. And make no mistake, America falls in the same bucket there, right? Our way or the highway, pretty much. The Nazis burned books, right? Stalin burned books, and he burned the people with it. Right? So. The Chinese weren't any better. The Cultural Revolution, almost destroyed 5,000 years of Chinese culture. 5,000 years caught up in smoke. The Khmer Rouge in Cambodia.
Well, the library, Mackie.
Sorry?
Big burning of the library?
Yeah, completely.
Was it Rome? That was Rome, right?
There was actually Alexandria.
Alexandria, that's right.
But, look, there have been book burnings all around, the library burnings. If a book didn't agree with the Bible, then, burn it, and if it does agree with the Bible, you only need the Bible. Burn that too. You don't need any book but the Bible.
But when people know too much, Mickey, they just get accidented. I forgot to mention in the previous hour that the doctor for what's the Russian guy that got the poison hit on him?
Oh yes, Navalny.
Yeah. The doctor's just up and died for no reason apparently.
Oh, just old.
Wishka.
It's not doctor. People die. It's an imperfect world, man. What?
Usually the slippery floors and the open windows, right?
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I told him they were rubber soles. Wouldn't listen to him.
Those silk stocks are notoriously slippery.
Yeah. And look, just because and knowledge is out there, and I mean plasma theory as well. We're going to talk about plasma theory here as well, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Or the ether for that matter. The ether was something that was all pervasive in the late 19th, early 20th century. Right, the ether.
It was the description, for those who don't know, it was the description of space.
Yes.
The gap between the entities they saw in the sky.
Correct. And they believed there was something there, not a total vacuum. And we know there's no. And the thing is, ether, if you really, if you look at how it was defined and what it was meant to do, you can think of ether as quantum form, right? The matter out of which all other matter arises, as it were.
But we know now that, the sun gives off a wind that is so strong, it's hundreds of meters per second, and I think it might be even more, like 1 million meters per second, some crazy thing, and it's something. It's actually there. Yes, there's a vacuum, but the vacuum's not strong enough to suck all the gases off all the planets we know of, right?
A complete vacuum doesn't exist.
No.
In space, in the universe, even in the space between galaxies, there are hydrogen atoms floating about, other atoms floating
That's
about.
Right.
There's not nothing. There is something. There's very little, and because we are living at the bottom of an atmospheric ocean here, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're drenched in soup, as it were. So for us, there's clearly there's nothing. No, that's not true. There's something. There is something, and in a similar way that a fish, when you take a fish out of water and put him on the land, the fish goes, "Oh, there's nothing here, man. I can't breathe. Look at me. There's nothing. I feel nothing."
That's the same as us in space.
Bingo.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's always your perspective, point of view, and what you're used to, right? And so we want to talk about the electric. We talked about the electric universe 6 years ago.
I want to rock down to electric universe. I can't stop it. That's all I see.
No, that's a really cool song too. Actually, it came up in my research when I was
Oh, really?
The song did pop up, which is cool. But it is a theory that is interesting, and I read it the first time I read about it was actually in Nexus magazine back in the I want to say mid-90s at some point. Very, very interesting. I even watched a talk about it back then. So I want to. Dave and I want to bring our attention to it again because we're going to talk about Tesla in this show cycle. We're going to talk about the plasma theory as well, and we're going to spend the last bit of the show cycle seeing just what happened to Tesla on his last day. Okay, and was he in fact murdered by Otto Skorzeny? Well, maybe. Right, well, you have to learn about that and wait till we come back. And they also have an appendix with all of his patents, or the officially listed patents.
The ones that weren't, grabbed up by the FBI, right?
Yeah. And that in itself is like 20 pages or some crazy thing. Okay, we're not gonna, but again, I will put the show notes up. But Tesla, by all accounts, was a genius of unparalleled proportions, and it seems that this Pace person that you mentioned earlier, Dave, in the first show cycle of the first hour of the show is in fact he's compared to Tesla.
Wow.
Yeah, no, that's actually it's in the article that you.
I didn't get to the bottom. Yeah.
No, that's okay. Here, this is the end. This is the very end of the article. Mm-hmm. According to his bio in a recently published paper on a new plasma compression fusion device, which could transform energy production, Dr. Pace is a mechanical and aerospace engineer working at the Naval Air Warfare Center. He's a PhD. He's got a PhD from Case Western University. He's a NASA research fellow and worked with Northrop Grumman. His current Department of Defense work involves his advanced knowledge of theory analysis, modern experimental computation method in aerodynamics, blah, 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 blah. He also has expert knowledge of electro-optics, emerging quantum technologies, etc., etc., etc. And then the final paragraph says here, suffice it to say, with such a list of research credentials that would make Nikola Tesla proud, Dr. Pace seems well positioned to carry out groundbreaking work.
Wow.
Pace. So watch this space and see what happens to Dr. Pace and what else he comes up with. And it's funny, this is the stuff they're telling us about. Imagine all the stuff they're not telling us about.
That's right. Yeah, they've probably got ships the size of a Walmart, Mackie, that's just a square block that can go anywhere in the universe. Hey, I want to correct myself there. Instead of, million meters per second, it's 750 kilometers per second is the solar wind.
It's almost 1 million meters.
Yeah, it's close. It's close.
Pretty
Three
fast.
quarters.
Fast.
Yeah.
All right, now let's delve right into it. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the electric universe. Now, this is actually taken from the Rational Wiki. Okay, the Rational Wiki is a debunking site. Well, yeah, it is a debunking site, but they
so be prepared for debunking terminology.
Yeah, but they had the best concise description of the electric universe theory, which is great. So I will use it. Science. This is a quote, and this is Save the Living Entities from Godlike Productions. Science has a very poor understanding of electricity. Electric engineers have a great understanding of electricity. And this is really the fundamental tenet of the electric universe theory, or the proponents thereof. They believe that science should happen in a lab, not drawn out in mathematical theorems, but rather in reality, because the math doesn't always fit the theory, right? And then you have to adjust either the math or the theory when something like that happens. They believe, well, we should really focus on reality and conduct all science in the lab. The electric universe, EU for short, is an umbrella term that covers various pseudo-scientific cosmological ideas built around the claim that the foundation and existence of various features of the universe can be better explained by electromagnetism than by gravity. The exact claims are diverse and vary from author to author. A common motive is the insistence that all science should be done in a laboratory, just like I pointed out. An attempt to throw away gravity from the very beginning because one can't put a solar system or a galaxy in a laboratory. Most electric universe proponents claim some kind of relation to the plasma cosmology of the Nobel Prize laureate Hannes Alfvén. Too bad his model was rendered obsolete by the missing observations of the radio emission predicted by his cosmology. Well, we haven't found them yet. They're missing. So we're still looking, I guess. But anyway, one subset of EU advocates comprises some of the global warming deniers, such as Voltko, who try to use it to prove that climate change is being caused by some process outside human control. Immanuel Velikovsky was an enthusiastic early adopter of electric universe ideas, seeing in them a possible mechanism to explain his scenario of planetary billiards, cosmic thunderbolts, and the notion that Earth was previously a satellite of Saturn. Just very quickly on Velikovsky and he's actually a proponent of catastrophism. Very good, I thought. His writings. Einstein was quite taken by him, as well as Charles Hapgood. So it's certainly not something that you can just throw away. And just as far as global warming is concerned, I do believe there's an agency at work outside our control that does add to global warming. Are we helping the situation? No, I don't think we're helping it at all. But I don't think that global warming is entirely caused by human activity. That's my opinion. And I say this because we have had climate change happening all the time. Climate has changed. We know this. We drill down to the ice cores. We check for climate, what it was like before. We know that there were ice ages. We know the ice ages stopped. So it's not like these climate changes are new to the planet. Climate change. If climate change, Dave, if it had never happened prior to the ascent of man, I would say, you know what, it's us, 100%, right? But climate change has happened in the past. It's a thing. The climate. We know this because we found frozen mammoths in the permafrost in Siberia with buttercups in their mouth. Buttercups don't grow in permafrost. Okay, they just don't. It doesn't happen.
It's too cold. So it was obviously warm at the time, and warm enough, cold enough for them to be there, and warm enough for the buttercups to exist.
Now Now, so that's the thing, right? So yes, we are certainly, doing our bit. Okay, no doubt about it. But there's going to be more greenhouse gas released out of the thawing tundra, the permafrost in Siberia and elsewhere, than we could ever hope to put out.
It's one of those all of a sudden things.
Yes, bingo. And the dominoes will just fall. Pop, 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 pop. There's nothing we can do. Now, there's certain claims. I will just finish the claims, and then I will throw it to my esteemed colleague, and he's going to take us in some detail through the electric universe theory and the key points. But the theory claims that Einstein's postulates are wrong. General relativity is wrong. The universe is not expanding. The electric force travels faster than the speed of light with near an infinite velocity. Gravity has two poles, like a bar magnet. It's called dipole gravity. A plenum of neutrinos forms an all-pervasive ether. Again, this is this ether we talked about. Planets give birth to comets. Stars do not shine because of internal nuclear fusion caused by gravitational collapse. Rather, they are anodes for galactic discharge currents. That's very interesting if you think about that for a second. Impact craters on Venus, Mars, and the Moon are not caused by impact, but by electrical discharges. The same applies to the Valles Marineris, a massive canyon on Mars, and the Grand Canyon on Earth. The Sun is negatively charged, and the solar wind is positively charged. The two systems forming a giant capacitor. EU proponents from the Thunderbolts project claim to have predicted the natures of Pluto and Comet 67P more accurately than NASA or ESA. ESA is the European Space Agency. Now, just very quickly on moon impact craters. Now, the moon impact craters, they are in a whole anomaly in and of themselves because they're too shallow. Too shallow. Now, if they were caused by electricity or electrical discharges, that would make a lot more sense than if they had been hit by meteors. Unless, of course, the moon is a lot harder, which we think now we know, than we initially thought. So the moon is a lot harder and hollow, and it's probably built. But we've talked about that before. Dave, tell us about the electric universe.
Okay, key points. The plumes of Enceladus are an electrical phenomenon, and there's a quote, and there's an editorial from Mackey. A team of planetary scientists working on the Cassini-Huygens mission has discovered tiny ice particles in the plume from Saturn's moon Enceladus that offer a tantalizing glimpse of the interior of this enigmatic world. The spectrometer on Cassini, the Cassini Plasma Spectrometer, or CAPS, discovered a surprise: the ice particles are electrically charged. That was from an article by Nancy Atkinson on April 21st, 2009. Now, the main points here are: electricity plays a more significant role in the universe than is generally accepted. The sun and stars are electrically powered by drift currents, and there's electric sun theory that supports that one. Planetary surface features such as some craters, dendritic structures, and riles are caused by superlightning, and that's electrical scarring. I know what electrical scarring does when I've been playing with a large transformer from a television, and I say playing, not scientifically, and was forcing it to arc onto different kinds of metal, and under the microscope they definitely look like craters. So the material is burnt and ejected. So I kind of understand where he's coming from, but on a grander scale, my goodness me, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near that kind of super lightning that's ejected from the sun like a plasma ball and hitting the earth or anywhere else. Certain cosmic phenomena are electrical in nature, including comet tails, the plumes of Enceladus, Martian dust devils, because of the lack of density of atmosphere, galaxy formation and dynamics that circumventing the need for black holes and dark matter. And there's a point on dark matter, and it's kind of being admitted now after all of this time where everyone kind of agreed that it was the only way to describe the mass there's more, and I'll have that when it's appropriate. But they're suggesting today that dark matter can't exist anymore. Thank goodness. It's like string theory. We can never get to the bottom of it. So the theory will remain forever until we can understand it. So the electric universe theory backstory: atoms, electrons, and plasma. Most of us wander around our lovely planet never fully understanding how atoms, electrons, matter, and energy function. It's not because we're not interested, it's because it's complicated and a bit intimidating. No wonder the processes that create and support life are nothing short of miracles. To better understand this, the electric universe theory, let's kick things off with a few definitions. Mekki, we can take these alternately.
Sure.
Atoms. An atom is the basic unit of a chemical element. They're made up of tiny subatomic particles, including protons, neutrons, and electrons. Atoms are surrounded by one or more negative electrons. That depends on its elemental number, as in, and each one of these that I mentioned are increased by one electron: hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, and neon. That's the first 10. And the 10th one, neon, has 10 electrons. Just letting you know that. So electrons are a bit like non-committal partners. They can be easily separated from their host atoms, when electrons, not easily in some cases, but they've got to be in a covalent bond, or as a covalent bond. When electrons are emitted, all sorts of things can happen. For example, the aurora borealis, northern lights, is born from these types of currents, forming multicolored sheets to burst across the sky. These bursts and sheets are forms of plasma filaments.
Plasma. Plasma is the most common of the 4 fundamental states of matter. The other big players are solids, liquids, and gases, which you should all be familiar with from high school physics. Plasma is formed when ionized gases become electrically conductive, meaning that electrical current and electricity can flow through them. Fire and lightning are forms of plasma. And if you've got this little magic ball at home, you know, that sort of, it's like a glass sphere, and inside you've got like a colorful lightning display, and when you touch it, it moves to your fingers. The stuff inside, once it's electrically charged, is plasma. So there's a gas in there, and when you run electricity through it, that is then plasma. You're looking at a plasma ball there. Okay. It's in this way that stars and galaxies get their power. Currents flow into stars and power them like light bulbs. They can also induce the births of planets. You can see the remnants of these energy infusions in the forms of craters throughout our galaxy.
Did you know, Mekki, that scientists found 2 states of water now with different properties?
Yes.
Just ordinary old water.
I know, right?
They never tested it for impedance or density before.
Nope.
But whoa, look.
Yeah, I know.
It's a thing.
It is a thing. I was flabbergasted when I saw it. It's really cool.
Yeah. So, you know, and even today, just like the gland we found in our nose that we didn't know we had for thousands of years, and water, the thing we've been, you know, we require it to live, never kind of tested these 2 different aspects of water, and now it has multiple liquid states. Plasma filaments, as charged particles move around and throughout plasma, rings of magnetic fields can form around the electrical currents. This is called a plasma filament. Interconnected and perfectly woven, these filaments stretch across billions and billions of light years, creating the silent equilibrium inherent in the physical universe. Sounds a bit word salady to me, to be honest. When current flows through plasma filaments, it generates colourful tendrils of light. This is where Nikola Tesla, from 1856 to 1943, comes in. He invented the plasma ball when experimenting with electric currents in a vacuum, and specifically vacuum tubes. As such, many refer to the center ball as a Tesla coil.
I'm looking at one right now. It's right next to my desk.
It's actually on the screen. You've got one next to you, right?
Yeah, I do. It's mine. I bought it. Well, my brother bought it, I think. Yeah.
I can't print one. I've got a 3D printer. I can't 3D print a plasma ball. Tesla believes that the electricity powered the universe and could power our physical and eternal realities.
Tesla on Einstein, or Einstein. On July 11, 1935, the New York Times quoted Tesla. This is the quote. "The relativity theory is much older than its present proponents. It was advanced over 200 years ago by my illustrious countryman, Boskovic." He was, by the way, Tesla was Serbian. "The great philosopher who, notwithstanding other and multifold obligations, wrote 1,000 volumes on a vast variety of subjects. Boskovic dealt with relativity, including the so-called time-space continuum." Tesla went on to say this about Einstein's theories. "Magnificent mathematical garb, which fascinates, dazzles, and makes people blind to the underlying errors. The theory is like a beggar clothed in purple, whom ignorant people take for a king. Its exponents are brilliant men, but they're metaphysicists, not scientists." That's what Tesla thought of Einstein. So, yeah, I know.
Them fighting words.
Yeah, them fighting words. So what is this electric universe theory? The electric universe theory generally states that electricity is the engine behind a long list of natural and astrophysical spectacles. It supports, like we discovered, the idea that electricity powers the sun and stars, and that cosmic occurrences are electrical in nature, fundamentally electrical or electromagnetic. The theory also suggests that the universe is a vast electric organism, chock full of yet-to-be-discovered masses, holes, relationships, and phenomena. The electric universe theory advocates believe that we are at the beginning of exploring the possibilities around that concept. Now, interestingly enough, gravity, as far as forces are concerned, is the weakest force that we know from nature, right? Mm-hmm. Much weaker than magnetism or electromagnetism or the atomic forces, right? The bond forces. And we just know that, we don't know why. We don't know why gravity is such a weak force.
But something really interesting about it, Mackie, that it works on grand scales.
Yes.
Super grand scales. And even the rotation of our universe, our galaxy itself, there's anomalies within it where if it was water going down a drain, where you'd put a colour dye, droplets of colour dye in, and you could watch it, circle the drain. As it gets towards the centre, it's meant to move faster. We know this to be true with water going down a drain. However, in a galaxy, my mistake, the outer ring of material moves faster than the inner centre material. Mm-hmm. I think there's a message in that for all of us, Mackie.
No, but there are no good explanations.
No one can come up with one for that and say quantum entanglement.
No, but that's it. It's look, and that's really what we're talking about, this, everybody, right?
Double slip.
It's just don't get me started. But there are other ways of looking at the world than the ones you've been taught in school. All right, we have to train our brain.
It just made it simple and easily consumable, but isn't perfect.
No, but it's enough for you to do your job.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think about that
Johnny,
stuff anymore.
Don't ask so many questions.
Right? I'm having flashbacks.
But
Stop asking questions.
Questions are for losers. What?
Are we going to be tested on this, Miss Hoover?
Pepsi!
Partial credit.
You think we're joking. We're not. Now, while some of the tenets of the theory appear to be difficult to prove, the idea that there is electricity throughout the universe and within every animal, plant, and everywhere else we find plasma is undeniable. Our brains bodies, in fact, have electrical current going through it as we speak. In fact, we are great conductors for electricity, Dave, so don't you go touching that outlet. And in fact, water is probably one of the best conductors there is for electricity, which is interesting because life and water are intimately linked, at least for us. And electricity, I wonder, when they talk about how life initially formed, it's always some kind of primordial soup,
some kind of murky pool near a volcano or something. Yeah,
and there's always this. Oh, it's being hit by lightning. Lightning is the
electricity.
force. Yeah, and Frankenstein, or Victor Frankenstein in Mary Shelley's book, uses electricity to bring to life again. And in fact, Benjamin Franklin was so fascinated about it. He made frogs twitch with electricity, which it does, of course. You put a current through a body, it'll twitch, even if it's dead.
I've got a muscle thing where you can put the things on your arm and it twitches your muscle with electricity.
Yes, 100%. It's a thing. So electricity, again, is a thing, right? And we are also, unfortunately, prone to its negative effects, as in tasers and such. Now, from subterranean electricity, known as telluric currents, to atmospheric electricity, for example, meteors, and from extraterrestrial or cosmic electricity to electrostatic phenomena, electric currents are visible and or audible. All of these things result from the interaction between electrical currents, filaments, atmospheres, and formations of matter. And this is a quote from Wallace Thornhill, and he's one of the main proponents of the electric universe theory at the moment. We live in an electric world. Our cities are visible from space at night, blazing with electric lights. The electricity courses invisibly in the darkness over great distances along thin power lines. We find electricity indispensable. Nature does the same, since all matter is electrical. Astronomy is stuck in the gas light era, unable to see that stars are simply electric lights strung along invisible cosmic power lines that are detectable by the magnetic fields and radio noise, he thinks. Dave?
The electric universe theory argues, that's where we get into the meat and potatoes of this, that the electricity plays a more important role in the universe than is generally accepted. And you can, if you're interested, you can look into the electricity throughout the universe. If everything is made up of atoms and they are electric, then is everything electric? The known universe is made up of 99% plasma, and plasma is an ionized electrically charged gas. Is the universe electric? All the stars, including our sun, are made up of plasma. The vacuum of space is plasma. Lightning is plasma. The solar wind is also plasma. Nearly everything is plasma. So, is it an electric universe? Electromagnetic forces are everywhere and perhaps everything. You cannot have a magnetic field without some form of electrical energy. It's an electromagnetic force. Space tornadoes equals circuit between sun and earth. Did you know that the solar plasma wind accelerates the further it gets away from our sun? On Earth, we accelerate electrically charged particles using electromagnetic forces. For example, CERN comes to mind. Why and how does the solar plasma wind increase its speed? Gravity should pull it back. A good theory predicts, but our space scientists did not predict that. But a chap in 1903 predicted space tornadoes in a book called The Universe, a Vast Electric Organism. NASA has discovered that the Sun and Earth connect every 8 minutes with a monstrous space tornado, twisting Birkeland currents of plasma acting as a wire with the current moving at over 1 million miles per hour. These space tornadoes are one part of the connection between the Sun and the Earth. Plug in around the auroras. Mickey, I wanted to also add there something interesting and about the plasma accelerating away from the Sun and the gravity pull of the Sun. You know, the Kuiper belt,
yes,
in the and the Oort cloud can still pull an object in to the Sun to the inner solar system from there. Our sun is, by gravity, connected to the trio of stars in our little local group.
Mm-hmm.
It's also connected 26,000 light years to the center of our galaxy. I got it right that time.
Very good. Yes, that's correct.
So the outward force of the plasma leaving the sun ends up at the heliopause, where the energy is now pushing out and resisting the crushing inward, consumption of our empty space, the space the sun is pushing away from itself, and that's the heliopause. And it's just like the water from a tap when you're pouring just a little bit out from a tap, over the constant stream, and you see that force pushing outward on the bottom of the sink,
mm-hmm.
where it builds up on the edge, wanting to fall in on itself. That is the example of the heliopause. If the sun turned off, we'd get some crushing forces. If its outward plasma turned off, all this stuff would suddenly come streaming into the inner solar system and probably kill everybody. Crazy. But please, Meki, do tell me about space quakes and plasma bombs.
Space quakes and plasma bombs cause and trigger the Earth's aurora. Space quakes themselves are mainly caused by a fast plasma jet on the night side of the Earth, not the night side of the sun. Good joke.
Wow.
That's funny. Not a lot of people would laugh at that. The plasma
I did avoid the B ship comment, but then I just said it.
So there it is. The plasma in our magnetotail is accelerated against the flow of the solar plasma wind. A process causes our magnetic field lines to vibrate, and energy is also exchanged at the polar regions. And combined, these effects create the auroras, where the space tornadoes touch down on the Earth. Now, the electric universe equals circuits, and no circuits, we don't have an electric universe theory. If it is an electric universe, right? If it is, then you must have circuits between everything. No circuits, no electrical universe, no current flow, nothing, right? Clearly. At the North Polar region, where the space tornadoes, the Birkeland currents, bring the electric charged plasma and the space quakes release the energy, you have the Earth's space fountain accelerated and ejecting plasma up into space. These large natural wires, currents, and exchanges in the Earth's global electric weather circuits, other planets and moons in our solar system have their own variations of space fountains. To sum up, as a theory, it offers explanations of various natural and astrophysical phenomena, some of which it claims are better understood without the need for various ad hoc explanations. As with any theory, the electric universe makes predictions that have been tested and is published in both peer-reviewed papers and popular books. The electric universe is interdisciplinary, integrating and supporting subjects as diverse as the science, astronomy, geology, physics, with the soft sciences such as ancient history and comparative mythology. Perhaps not surprisingly, the electric universe has also become the target of pseudo-skeptics, like the pseudo-skeptics, right? Pseudo-scientists now have pseudo-skeptics, whose criticisms have consisted rather of ad hominems, misunderstanding, misrepresentation, and labeling as pseudoscience. Now, ad hominems are attacks on people that propose a certain theory. Not the theory itself, but the people are attacked. We see this with everything. And in fact, any skeptic, any debunker attacks the person rather than the concept. The electric universe theory is simply that. It's a theory. The universe is electric. Space scientists are surprised about most things they find. A good theory predicts or explains. Remember this every time you read about how amazed they were. Never expected to find that back to the drawing board, right? Now, just to be clear here, neither Dave or I are electric universe theory die-hard proponents. What we are is believers in free and open thinking and considering all possible answers. Is it possible that certain aspects of the electric universe theory are correct? Yes. And as such, these components should be integrated within the larger cosmological theories that we're currently following. Do we think that relativity is completely there? No. We know it's not. Do we think that quantum mechanics is completely there? No. And we know it's not. because, well, first of all, those two don't get together at all. They never have picnics together, which is sad. But there's certainly missing links here, and quite possibly, right? If we consider electromagnetism as the unifying force here, it could very well be, and we should invest a lot more time and thought into the exploration of electromagnetism and potentially the electric universe theory. Now, Dave, there are also alternate electric universe theories.
Yeah, there's not just the one. Others have described or had described their theories as the electric universe, and while they may share some features in common, may be wholly different too. In 1883, a pamphlet named The Electric Universe, flashing thoughts for consideration and facts from many sources by Torpedo. In 1903, George Woodward's Water's book, The Universe, a Vast Electric Organism, including chapter 15? Yep. The Electric Universe is self-sustaining and eternal. In 1959, Herman Bondi and R.A. Littleton proposed the possibility of a general access of charge in the universe, which Bondi referred to as the electric universe. In 1960s, C.R. Bruce, and there's a quote here, proposed a theory of the evolution of the universe which will be of interest to electrical engineers. He endeavours to show that electrical discharges have gradually condensed matter from the primordial gas and dust of a general universal atmosphere to first into galaxies, then from the condensed matter of the galaxies into stars. Discharges in the extended atmospheres of stars further condense the matter, ultimately to allow the formation of planets and satellites. In 1966, James Patton mentioned, the thinking reader who knows that gravitation and electrostatics both involved universe square laws of force, but is unaware of ionization, may wonder how stars and galaxies exist in the electric universe. Very interesting. In 1978, P.C.W. Davies, in an article in Nature, described a paper on The Electrically Polarized Universe by John Bally and E.R. Harrison in Astrophysics Journal. Davies notes, in spite of its 𝐫𝐞𝐯𝐶𝐈𝐴n flavour, the Bally-Harrison electric universe unfortunately does not lead to any obviously important astrophysical consequences. What a call. In 1998, Dr. Laszlo Korteljesy's book, The Electric Universe, also highlighted the importance of electricity in astronomy, but he does not describe to an electric-powered sun nor electrical scarring.
Fascinating stuff, and well done on that name.
All of them actually.
Yeah, but that one that was a doozy. I'll tell you what. For some reason my word has frozen. I don't know why. That's just exactly what you need, isn't it?
You know, Mickey, Dostoevsky.
Is no good. It's no good. My word application, Mr. Gates, has frozen. What are you going to do about it? Seriously.
Little bit killing.
But yeah, I know. As soon as I actually,
that's what Microsoft does.
Yeah, no.
I'm not going to hate on Microsoft too much, but it's the thing everyone has, and you know what? In my career, Mackie, I think 35 years, it was the source of all of my income.
You know what?
Just saying.
I
with about 5% VMware.
Yeah, Control Delete is probably the one thing I did the most.
Yeah.
In my career of supporting computers. Look, what Microsoft and Bill Gates did was they created a whole cottage industry.
That's right. Which they're slowly deleting now, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, true that. So I'm going to restart my word application here, but I do want to say a few things to to this. Like I said before, is it the answer? Maybe, maybe not, right? But a lot of very smart people, right? Very smart people, Tesla, others think there's something to it. So we can't dismiss it out of hand. It would be, fools of an extraordinary caliber if we just dismissed it all altogether. Which has happened though. That's exactly what's happened. We're dismissing this out of hand because it doesn't fit the current worldview, right? And I wonder why, Dave. This is really bugging me that we have and we, rather than considering this theory, we plug the hole with dark matter and dark energy. We said, this is what we said. This was written not too long ago in scientific magazines. 98% of the universe is missing. Or thereabouts, 96, I can't remember what the exact percentage was, 90-something percent. What? 90-something percent of the universe is missing. Yep, that's right. Oh, that's acceptable, I guess.
They agreed that was the case because then they could call it dark matter.
Yeah.
And the problem went away.
But for me, it's a really strong case for the ether. I know it's not popular. I get it. Or other connecting.
Yeah, because it's not a vacuum of space.
Yeah.
And there are filaments, Mickey, between universes. Well, it's far out. I've done it again. Between galaxies, all across the universe.
But hang on a second.
That's clusters.
You just said between universes.
Yeah, I know. It was a Freudian slip because I think there's something in that too. I think all these universes occupy the same space.
Yes.
And we just can't see their mass.
No, we can't.
Hey, you know what? It's better than dark matter, I'll tell you that.
Well, yes. But this is the richness of it. There's so much going on with this. And I can't get a word to start. I don't know, to restart my computer. It's just funny, isn't it? Force quit again.
We have 12 minutes anyway, right? So you're absolutely right. Now, the current, as of like less than a month ago, the current stand that physicists have is that dark matter is phooey, and that the mass does exist there. Sure, we can't see it, but it's not an anti-atom or anti-proton or anti, what you want to call it. It's not antimatter, as they tried to explain it. It doesn't want to repel itself away from other matter. It's just that we can't see black things that don't reflect light in space because it's black.
Well, yeah.
We should just accept that there is just the right amount of matter in the universe, and that's where that conversation is staying at the moment. Isn't it extraordinary? Because they've found what they discovered was the innermost part of galaxies is actually quite devoid of mass. There's big things in there, but the most mass is in a ring around the middle, and it's going faster than the inside. And this is now tipping all the tables over in physics and astrophysics, for that matter, and that they just don't understand it.
Yeah, it doesn't fit the accepted models. Oh, I've got to think of something else now. Oh, hot dog.
Back to the string theory.
Yeah, I like string theory. No, but see, this is really probably maybe the most important aspect of the show. If somebody asks me why do you do the show, what's the point? It is to highlight the fact that we don't know everything, right? And we must question at all times what people tell us. Because we just don't know. And these theories, that's why we talked about ether. We had a whole show cycle on the ether. Why? What's the point, right? Well, the point is that people have decided to not talk about it, right? But for me, that means, well, then let's talk about it. Well, I mean, this is a whole bunch of stuff that's no longer talked about, right? This craziness is all pervasive in our culture at the moment. And it goes into every aspect of life. It goes into a cultural, how can I put this best? We are deleting our culture. We're deleting our history. We're ignoring the obvious questions, right? And we're okay with that. We're okay with Disney movies being censored and no longer available for viewing for our children.
Uncomfortable conversations, Mickey, are being deleted.
Yeah, exactly. We can't. Well, another 10 years of this, and slavery never happened, right?
Oh, then you can bring it back.
I can bring it back. That's right. But this is, doesn't understand anyone the danger here. Yeah, look, I'm not big on monuments and commemorating people that hated on other people. But we have to remember these people. We have to remember Hitler. We have to remember the South. We have to remember apartheid in South Africa. We have to remember the colonial goings on in Australia. We have to remember all of it, right? We cannot not remember it, because if we don't remember it, and then one day someone can say, "Oh, well, it never really happened, Mackie. It never really took place. What are you talking about? It's not a real thing."
Yeah, on Wikipedia pages will just end up showing you nothing. Right? All the history will be gone. You won't be able to find it any other way. I've dared people. When was the last time you went to a library to find something that was written? Never. Nah, it's good.
Library? What now?
Yeah, what?
What is that?
I googled it, and it said there weren't any. There's no such thing as a library.
That's where they shot Lee Harvey Oswald, the book depository, right? Yes, right. That's what happened. It's a shooting place for Lee Harvey Oswald. That's what a library is. It's a shooting place for Lee Harvey Oswald. What? Why are you talking? What is it?
That's very funny. So, from an informational point of view, you've got to know what you need to discount. If you're putting together an idea of what you think you know, you've got to look at all the information. And this is, I'm going to make a segue, Mackie. Give me 1 minute. Sure. So, uncomfortable conversation is the thing that I've been mentioning a lot in my Facebook posts, and there's a polarized world out there, and it is insanely polarized. That people, when they open their mouth, I can identify their news source. And when I question them on it, they agree that is, and I'm right. They've not come to that and the inherited opinion that they've been, indoctrinated by their news source and, massaged and become a good little citizen, knowing that is the only story and nothing else exists. It doesn't matter which side of politics you're on. I don't know what your news source is. There are very few of them are centre. So it's very tough to sit. That uncomfortable conversation, I try to lead this uncomfortable conversations, and I want to know people's opinions. But I've noticed that people are inside their boxes barking at me like those little tiny dogs that only bark because the screen door is still closed. Yeah, 2 hours, right? But, the moment the screen door is opened and they're allowed to go outside, they run away from the door, right? So this very same thing, I'm noticing people are doing this. And when I present my view that's above their little tiny boxes, they go, "Ooh, that's too difficult. That's conflicting with what I know. Oh," and they walk away. And I think that's so crazy. Remember that argument you put forward, where we're only really allowed to talk about the things as long as we stay in the box.
Yes.
But now there's different boxes, and the people are polarized, and their news feeds are diverse. They're not the same, and we're building generations of people that are in conflict with each other. It's just nuts.
It is insane. But the consensus reality was you put a couple a very recent post, but you also posted something a long time ago.
Yeah.
Where newspaper articles are virtually identical. That was the recent one, but the long ago post, you actually had news readers saying the same thing in like 50 different stations across different geographies, word for word the same.
Yeah.
Consensus reality, my friend.
That's absolutely. Hey, well, there's the end of the show.
Stay tuned. Dissonance is what you're suffering from. Yes. Go ahead.
Stay tuned for a Jeb Ayres after hours show. It's always great. And catch Becky and I next week. Or go into the station's archives, or we have a YouTube channel, and if you're interested in going to that and you do like something we say, do add us to Patreon and help us keep this message alive. Anyway, take care, everyone. We'll see you next week. This is David Mackey's Shiny Side Out on Revolution Radio.